One of these men is a highly respected New York attorney, Lucas A. Ferrara. The other is a self-proclaimed man of the people, known as Mert Roberts. Their aim is to discuss the hottest issues impacting our city, state, and nation. Fasten your seatbelts. Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live, starts now on AM 970. The Answer.
What is the name of that one, Alex? It's extremely dramatic.
It's called Nuclear Bomb by Looming Wave.
How funny. Well, let's go nuclear since you brought it on. Look, just a few weeks ago on October 30th, when President Trump announced that the United States would resume nuclear weapons testing, it wasn't just another headline, Mert. It triggered a significant shift in global security policy. The announcement came via Truth Social, where Trump wrote, and I quote, Mert, "Because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately," end quote. That phrasing raised eyebrows. The real shock was the substance. The U.S. hasn't conducted a full-scale nuclear test since 1992, Mert. For decades, the country has relied on computer simulations and subcritical tests. Now Trump wants to change that. This move has sparked an intense debate across the globe. Is it a necessary step to ensure our national security, Mert, or is it a reckless gamble that could trigger a new arms race? What do you think, bud?
Well, I think you always have people in the military who want to show off the strength of the military, because a lot of people have forgotten just how strong these bombs are. So sometimes you want to put it in 4D, not HD, but you want to put it in 4D, ultra high definition, just how strong and powerful these bombs are. So I think that's what we're dealing with here. You know what? I can remember Trump wanting to have a military parade. You know, he wanted to show off the military, so this is a guy who wants to show the strength. I mean, you can even look at them changing the name of the department to the Department of War, or whatever they call it. So this is an administration that wants to appear strong, and they're not so much concerned with hiding their strength. They want the world to know, hey, we're America and we still have the capabilities to demolish you. So if North Korea wants to test out in the middle of the ocean when they're not supposed to be, well, we're going to show some tests out there for ourselves and let everybody know. Do your little test you want to. We have thousands of these things ready to go if you even dare try to launch one. So I think it's all about sending that message and reminding people just how strong the United States of America really is. And you might think I have a problem with that, but I don't. If you can figure out a place to blow these bombs up and it don't get up into the atmosphere and start blowing all over the place and affecting people miles and miles away, I don't have a problem with it. But if it becomes an environmental issue, that's when I have concerns, because you start to think about where they're going to do this at and who are the people who are going to be affected. So that's my only concern.
Well, look, I am a little surprised, but I think your points are all valid. I think we need to show strength, particularly given some of the bullies out there. But the last time the U.S. conducted a nuclear test was in September of 1992, over 33 years ago, under President George H.W. Bush. And to do it again, to resume these testing process would take a lot of cash and a lot of time. So experts are wondering whether this is truly realistic. But in any event, here is a question for you, Mert. And Gabby, get ready. As of 2025, 9 countries possess nuclear weapons, each with varying level of warheads and stockpile, deployment capabilities. What country is number 1 in terms of the total number of nuclear warheads? Mert, you want to take a guess?
Well, I'm going to say it's the United States is number 1.
And Mert says the U.S. of A. Gabby, you want to take a guess?
Sure, Russia.
Gabby, you are on a roll. Winning judges, winning bell for Gabby Pisani, please. Oh, no,
But
that's
you know what?
That's a nuclear
You know
song.
what? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Time out. You know what I'm going to say, though? Even though Russia might technically be correct, I've watched enough military documentaries to understand a lot of those bombs that they have over there, they don't work. It's just made up numbers to inflate, make themselves look bigger than they are. Now, I'm sure they do have weapons that do work, so you don't want to go over there and start nothing. But that number that puts them ahead of the United States, I'm assuming, because there's good intelligence on that a lot of those bombs might not actually be functioning, and they might just be numbers to make them look.
You have a point, but this survey that looked at this, that Russia has an estimated 5,459 nuclear warheads. Approximately 1,718 are deployed. So about 1,718 are working, while the remainder are in reserve or retired. Now the U.S., Bert, which was your answer, so Gabby was right. The U.S. has about 5,177 nuclear warheads, with 1,600 deployed. So it continues to modernize, and as we noted, Trump is looking to resume testing. Number 3, China. It's estimated to have 600 warheads. It's got only a small number. Its arsenal is expanding rapidly, though, and its testing history is unclear, so they're not fully transparent. 4, believe it or not, France has approximately 290 nuclear warheads. Nearly all of them are deployed, so they've got 290 real working ones. 5, the United Kingdom has about 225 warheads, only 120 of which are deployed. 6, India, believe it or not, 180 nuclear warheads. 7, Pakistan has 170 warheads. Number 8, Israel. Now, there's some ambiguity, uncertainty. You want to talk about secrets, but they're claiming that it's about 90, that Israel has about 90 nuclear warheads. It's not been confirmed. North Korea is estimated to have around 50. It remains the only country to have conducted tests in the 21st century and continues to defy international non-proliferation norms. They don't care about any treaties or anything like that. So these 9 nations are the full roster of known nuclear powers in 2025. And here's a little tidbit for you. Russia and the U.S. hold over 88% of the world's nuclear arsenal. So, hey, we're two forces that have to be reckoned with. But, you know, you had an interesting point that you made pre-show. Did you want to share it with the audience, Mert?
I'm not sure what you're talking about, because I do a lot of talking before
nuclear stuff that, you know, the devastation, you don't
Well, you know what? I just misheard you, because I thought you were saying that they were going to start putting nuclear reactors all over the place, and I said, well, if they blow up, they'll wipe out the people who live around them, so it won't be a big problem because all the people will be wiped out. But if you're talking about testing, then you can determine where you're going to let these things explode, and they won't be connected to powering homes, so they won't necessarily need to be close to the people that are using the energy that's coming from these power plants. But that's not what you were talking about. So.
Oh, I see.
That's not relevant.
All right, but look, a lot of countries have bombs. Were you surprised by these numbers, Alex?
No, I am more surprised North Korea doesn't have more, because I always hear them launching and doing testing, but for them to only have about 50 is kind of surprising to me.
Well, it's bombast, right? It's first of all, they're a nation in poverty. They're a nation under chaos. But, all you need is one. Like, according to Merge, if you want to do a lot of damage, all you need is just one. So, look, in terms of restarting this testing program, as I said before, it's not as simple as flipping a switch. The only place, believe it or not, unless we acquire Canada and we do all our nuclear testing up there, the only place that we can do our tests, that was a joke by the way, is in Nevada. and it's a place called the Nevada National Security Site. It's about 65 miles northwest of Las Vegas, which is doing terrible right now. And it's a sprawling, high-security facility. It covers about 1,350 square miles, Mert. It's larger than the state of Rhode Island, and it's played a pivotal role in our defense and scientific research since the 50s. And originally known as the Nevada Proving Grounds and later the Nevada Test Site, the facility was the primary location for U.S. weapons during the Cold War. So to restart testing, Mert, would take hundreds of millions of dollars and at least, according to the experts, 2 years. According to Gregory Jackson, former chair of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, he said, and I quote, "There's no immediacy when it comes to testing. The infrastructure isn't ready and the political will isn't there." Yikes. But you know what, Mert? Our stockpile is aging. Some warheads were built during the Cold War and haven't been physically tested in decades.
And that's why, you know what? That's why this topic is actually a very interesting one, because every young boy, especially now, we like to play video games, and there's a lot of explosions, there's a lot of bang, pow, all that type of stuff. Men love that type of stuff. All the action movies we like to watch, all that stuff. So it makes sense how Donald Trump, who's appealed to a lot of, red-blooded, warm-blooded, he's appeased to a lot of machismo throughout America. And, that would just be, prime rib steak, whatever high-quality meal that you enjoy. That would be, people would eat that up in America because they would say, wow, look at how strong we are. You know what? I'm not so intimidated by North Korea, because North Korea, according to your stats, only have about 50. Well, we have 5,000. So if North Korea wants to try anything, and then people are going to look at themselves, in America especially, they're going to say, what are we so afraid of? This is the goal, I'm thinking, of these tests, is to put back into the American spirit, what are we so afraid of? We have that. And what is that? Atomic weapons. So if anybody wants to try to stop American expansion, exceptionalism, they're going to have to deal with not only our intelligence, but our might as well.
But that's why I think Iran will never act, because they're too afraid of what the repercussions are going to be. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Absolutely. But you don't have to do the test to understand that, because they already have spies and all kind of information where they already know what we're capable of. This is what I think is all for the benefit of the American people, to stop feeling like we're so weak. Because I think that America, for the most part, is getting tired of being, cowering in certain instances where we're like, man, what is Russia going to do? What is China going to do? What is North Korea going to do? It's like they're going to do nothing, because we're America and we have the firepower to, if you want to try something, go ahead and see how that works out for you when we wipe you off the face of the map. Now, with that comes our destruction, but hey, you get it started and we'll finish it. So I think this is all a big push by Trump to feed his base. You said it, Lucas. That was a very good word you used, machismo. That's exactly what this is. And sometimes that's needed, especially when a country has been to, all this stuff about DEI and women are men and men are women. You want some machismo sometime.
But this has made a lot of people anxious and nervous. For example, Heather Williams, who's a nuclear policy expert at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, said that this could trigger a new arms race. She continued, "We've spent decades trying to reduce the threat of nuclear war, and this move undermines that progress." So while he's showing machismo, Mert, he's also may be reigniting something that could have serious ramifications. Now,
well, I'm gonna just
tests. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to just make a very realistic observation about that. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but the fact that you said it was a woman who said that is why, Trump is going with this messaging. He's saying we're tired of listening to women and all this stuff where they want to be careful and safe. We are strong. I don't care what the world is going to do. We're strong, so bring it on. So I think that mentality will trump with that, I don't want to say woman, but with that lady, I'm pretty sure she's a very pretty lady, has said. But men don't want to hear that.
970 apologizes for Mert Roberts' comment. Come on, Mert. Just because a woman said that. No, I think a lot of people, men and women and whatever other identities in between, are concerned about reigniting.
Mert, I would say K.T. McFarland loves that we have a strong military.
Is Mert being sexist? Is Mert being sexist or what?
I would say K.T. McFarland is one of the strongest women in the military. She's national security advisor to Trump. She loves that we have a strong military. So don't go there with us, Mert.
Yeah, don't make it about women. It's not about Mert. Gabby, do you have any comments? You want to smack Mert?
Mert always has to bring up women in an emotional way.
That's
all sensitive. I don't like
pig.
that. I don't agree
He's
with it at all.
He's a sexist pig. That's why he's living in the 50s. He's in a whole different era. Yeah, a lot of men feel that way too, Mert. Come on. Look, the point is that it's more than a policy change. It's a turning point. It forces the world to confront tough questions about security, science, and survival. I mean, look, we don't have to go back to the Cold War. There are smarter ways to maintain our arsenal and to protect our interests. I am concerned, Mert, that some of our stuff is like 3 or 4 decades old and hasn't been tested. Between you and me, I don't even know if it works. So you want to talk about fake out? Who knows if these 5,000 things work? So this is a problem. So whether you see it as bold leadership or dangerous posturing, one thing is clear: the stakes couldn't be higher. Nuclear weapons are not just a tool of war, my friend. They're symbols of power, instruments of diplomacy, reminder of humanity's capacity for destruction. How we choose to wield them says as much about our values as it does about our capabilities. And Trump's edict has reopened a conversation that many hoped was closed. It challenges assumptions, tests alliances, and forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. Only time will tell whether this marks the dawn of renewed tensions or a catalyst for renewed diplomacy. This much is certain: the global community must engage responsibly to navigate through these uncertain waters, and we must strive for a safer, more stable world. And here's something stable for you. You're listening to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas live. This is Lucas Ferrara with me in the studio, the one and only, known by many as the Mertinator, Mert Roberts. And working the board is Alex Garrett, who is a 5-star rated podcast, One Leg Up with Alex Garrett. And with him in the studio is a princess, none other than Princess Gabby Pisani. Princess, are you still there?
I am. Great show tonight.
Isn't he crazy? Isn't Mert Roberts crazy?
But I got to say this. I love women, by the way, so let's not put that falsity out there.
Misogynist. And, of course, let's not forget Ashley Ferrante's working in Master Control. Now, when we come back, we'll be joined by Brandon Bronaugh. He's America's life transition expert and one of the stars of A&E's TV show Hoarders. Me, Mert, Alex, Gabby, Brandon Bronaugh, all of us at AM 970 will return after these quick messages. Stay tuned, because if you leave now, your collection of haunted beanie babies wins. And trust us, they've been plotting overthrow since 1997.
30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 1250 Broadway in New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
At St. Joseph's Medical Center in Yonkers, excellence is in the details. Home to some of the most skilled physicians and surgeons in the region, St. Joseph's blends cutting-edge medicine with compassionate personal care, where every patient is treated like family and every detail matters. From their devoted nurses and caregivers to advanced technology and patient-first focus, St. Joseph's Medical Center is raising the standard for healthcare right here at home. It's that commitment to quality that earned St. Joseph's a 5-star rating for cleanliness from Becker's Hospital Review, and it's why they're attracting top doctors from across New York City and Westchester County who want to be a part of something extraordinary. Because when it comes to your health, every detail truly matters. St. Joseph's Medical Center. The future of healthcare in Yonkers is here.
MyPillow is excited to announce they're having their biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and an overstock deal you won't find anywhere else. My Slipper's only $39.98. Any color, any style. Regular $149.98. Now only $39.98. That's $110 savings. Once they're gone for good. My Towels are finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98. Now only $39.98. And for the first time and only time ever, get their limited edition premium My Pillows made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queens $17.98, Kings only $19.98. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you will receive free shipping plus $100 in free digital gifts. So go to mypillow.com or call 800-651-0798 and use the promo code Joe P. Use your promo code for the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
So you think I'm garbage? Cast aside, forgotten scraps in which no pride abides. A crumpled note, a broken glass, leftovers from some fleeting past. But have you seen my hidden gold? The stories of the lives I hold.
Now what's this one called, Alex?
Alright, we've had this one before. It's called So You Think I'm Garbage by Miss Whimsy Art.
Ah, interesting choice. Our next guest, Brandon Bronaugh, is the founder of Life Cycle Transitions and a featured expert on A&E's Hoarders, known for guiding families through some of the most complex and emotional home transformations on television. Brandon brings over 17 years of hands-on experience in transitional care, property rehabilitation, and hoarding intervention. As the founder and CEO of Life Cycle Transitions, he has led more than 7,000 families through life-altering events, from downsizing and relocation to post-hospital home prep and estate cleanouts. Brandon's on-screen presence on A&E Hoarders is backed by deep field experience. He's partnered with hospitals, elder services, and city agencies to address hoarding emergencies and develop sustainable solutions for our vulnerable populations. What set Brandon apart is his full spectrum model. Life Cycle Transitions doesn't just clean homes, it rebuilds lives. His mission is clear: restore dignity, stability, and peace of mind. Brandon Bronaugh, welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas Live.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be back here again. And you guys got a great platform, and any time to be on your show is a privilege on my end. Thank you guys again.
Oh, Brandon, you do God's work. You do God's work, and it's always a pleasure to watch you.
Now, Lucas.
Yes, The Mertinator has a question for you, Brandon.
Before you get into the serious question, I want to ask this because I'm always curious about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to speak for myself because this is kind of ignorant, but you often think of unattractive people as being hoarders. What does it look like? Is there a form of attractive hoarding? Is there like a type of hoarding that looks good but it's really bad? Like if you collect is there like neat hoarding? I don't know how to put this, but hoarding always looks dirty and ugly. But is there a neat hoarding that can be just as bad? You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. And, if you've ever, dated a supermodel and maybe she has a closet full of, nice gowns or shoes.
Well, that's Lucas. You can talk about that.
That might be an example. I think I get what you're saying. You're saying can this, we all imagine when we see the show, we see the ugly. But are there some scenarios where, there can be attractive people in attractive situations where it's not nasty, but it's a bit hoarding? Yeah, absolutely. Hoarding isn't categorized by that definition, or you don't really see it in those kind of lights. I think anybody that has things in abundance that can't really figure out what to do or why they're doing what they're doing, and obsessively or impulsively, and find themselves in a situation where they've entirely circumvented their entire life, like they don't have a couch anymore because they got clothes everywhere, kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, and I ask that because I see a lot of people. A lot of people say, "I would love to have 100 Ferraris in my garage if I could have a garage that large." But that might, to me, it seem like overdoing it because you're not going to drive all those cars. So it might seem like you're overdoing it, but to a lot of people, you wouldn't be able to necessarily say that because they would say, well, this person is rich and they can afford it, so why would you say something? You sound jealous.
Right. When you look at hoarding, sometimes I think you can tie it down to the trauma in some regards. If you look at people who are incredibly wealthy, you say they already got $1 billion. Why do you need $2 billion? What are you going to do with $2 billion? But if you go deep back into that person's childhood, even if they inherited a large portion of their money, they might have a fear that maybe they're going to run out of inheritance, or maybe they fear that they don't make more than maybe someone before. It's some deep-rooted fear or some deep-rooted reason why people do what they do. And hoarding just sort of put a face on it, put a name on the face of what people are doing unbeknownst to them, because like a lot of mental illnesses, very rarely do people openly admit early on that they're hoarders until they go through therapy, or they've gone through some bitter relationships, or they've strained their relationship with their kids or their relatives, or they realize they can't have people come over. Does it come to the realization that, this is a problem? Unlike if they suffer from other mental illnesses that will be a little bit more apparent and maybe caught earlier on, hoarding isn't one of those things that you tend to find in junior high or 4th or 5th grade, where you can go to the school counselor and say, Cynthia's collecting a lot more Barbie dolls than we expected,
Right.
Well, Brandon, let me ask you, because I think maybe we're confused. What is the definition of hoarding? How about if we start with that? How would you define hoarding?
The definition of hoarding is kind of, it's unique to describe it because there's so many different characteristics of hoarding. The obsessive compulsive disorder of the inability of letting something go or not being able to stop purchasing, versus, now let's dig deeper into the diagnosis or the characteristics of maybe silogomania, where you are a trash hoarder, versus bibliomania. This is a person who is collecting books, and then go deeper into that, and then you have a purposeful hoarder, and then you can go into different variations of level 1, 2, or 3, where now there's an extreme level of the tendencies.
So Brandon, Mert's girlfriend that collects 250,000 shoes, that's a form of hoarding. When you have too much of something, is that it?
Well, and that's the thin line, but it's not too. It's thin in the sense that if you people who like to collect items, they may make money with those items. But then you have people who go to flea markets and they have all of these items that they don't necessarily sell. They have a wish list, or they have they have expectations rather of being able to do something that may or may not occur. But when you look at most people in America, for instance, we tend to buy in excess. All it takes is a promotion, and now everyone's going to go buy additional things, or something going out of business now because a marketing company realized, let's create urgency in order to get people to ring those bells a lot quicker. But if you go into other countries, in certain situations, they may have far less than what we have in our country, and I think a lot of that is attributed to abundance.
Now, Brandon, what inspired you to start your company, Life Cycle Transitions?
Well, I mean, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, to be perfectly honest. I had went through a lot of situations where there were scenarios where different people were calling us for different reasons, and we began to see a pattern of these situations and realizing that there was no market for them. When we first started the company, we were a property preservation company. We were focused solely on working with clients, commercial clients, taking distressed, dilapidated properties and getting them on the market, and realizing as we were going into all these different homes for the banks, and we're referring to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Bank of America, and so on, that when we would go into different homes, there was different reasons why these situations ended up the way they were, but mentally, physically, emotionally, and psychologically, there was no outlet for anyone to be able to help these clients. So I took the market from the commercial and went into the residential. But back then, it was yellow book, yellow pages. There was no classification on any of the platforms to market our services. So I had to advertise in all these different categories, but ask clients, why are you getting your house empty? Why are you moving? Why are you putting your house on the market? And a lot of them were for reasons like, we had a death in the family, we're downsizing, we're relocating. My mother, fell ill. She's in an assisted living, and we're trying to get her back home. And we said, what if we can be a center for all of these people, these clients dealing with these various situations? And I came up with the idea of a transition company, and people laughed at me, quite honestly. They thought I was referring to transgender or transitioning from prison. And I said, no, just a company that helps people transition.
Now, do you find that the vast majority of your clientele, the hoarders, are they older? Is there an age range? I think Mert was trying to get to pin you down on what a hoarder looks like. But is there an age range, or can we be any age and be older?
Well, now that's a good question. And now I'm starting to see more of those cases in 7th and 8th and 9th grade, where a lot of kids are now starting to show tendencies of hoarding in their bedrooms.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
What are they hoarding, if I may ask?
The moms are calling saying that they're either hoarding, their food, they're ordering, DoorDash or any of these other, apps, and they're getting food delivered, and they're not throwing it away. They're not putting it in the garbage. And there's trash everywhere in some cases. In some other cases, they're beginning to hoard their clothing and not hanging them up and not putting them away and things like that.
Well, that sounds like Mert's apartment, to be honest with you.
No, I clean my room. That's what that sounds like. These parents need to make their kids clean their room. So I'm thinking, is this the problem with the parents and not the kids? How you...
A little corporal punishment, that's what they need. Look, Brandon, we have to take a quick break for some commercial messages. But have no fear. When we return, Brandon Bronaugh will rejoin us. For more about Brandon, check out his website, lifecycletransitions.com. We'll have links on our website. Hey, he's helped thousands start over. After the break, Brandon Bronaugh tells us how and why it matters. Shake it off. We'll be back right after these messages.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 1250 Broadway in New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate.
Under the visionary leadership of Mayor Mike Spano, the city of Yonkers is undergoing a remarkable economic renaissance unprecedented in its history. A key to the city's success is the Yonkers Industrial Development Agency. In the past 5 years alone, the Yonkers IDA has provided financial incentives for development projects representing nearly $4 billion in private investment and more than 8,100 residential units planned, completed, under construction, and approved for development. And it has created nearly 10,000 construction jobs. And now, thanks to IDA incentives, Yonkers is home to Liongate's $100 million state-of-the-art TV and film studio, the largest facility of its kind in the Northeast. To learn more about the financial incentives provided by the Yonkers IDA, visit www.yonkersida.com or call 914-509-8651. That's www.yonkersida.com or 914-509-8651.
You're listening to Salem Media of New York with another breaking news update. Kevin McCullough reporting. At least one additional death has been reported since my last report in Jamaica. Extensive damage being done through all parts of the northwest and southwest portions of the island of Jamaica. Melissa, the Hurricane Cat 5, tied 1935's Labor Day hurricane in Florida with wind speed and tied the 1935 hurricane and the 2019 Hurricane Dorian in terms of size, pressure exerted on the land. They measure that in a thing called millibars, and also wind capacity, 295 kilometers per hour. Our friends in Jamaica need our help. They're asking you to help right now. 855-907-4673, 855-907-4673, or go to am970theanswer.com.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
Welcome back. We've been speaking with Brandon Bronaugh, America's life transition expert and one of the stars of A&E's hit show Hoarders. He's the founder of Life Cycle Transitions, the first company of its kind to blend emotional, logistical, and real estate support for families facing crisis-level home situations. Brandon doesn't just clear clutter. He clears the way forward. Brandon Bronaugh rejoins us now. And if you're looking for more information about him and his company, visit lifecycletransitions.com. That's lifecycletransitions.com. Of course, we'll have the link posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Now, Brandon, before the break, you were saying that you've now started seeing some kids, 7th, 8th grade, starting to exhibit hoarding behaviors, and you mentioned, for example, food. Now, as a parent, when I encounter a situation like that, that must be terribly troubling. I mean, collecting, not disposing of food containers, that attracts vermin, it's unsanitary, it stinks. So now I see my kid having a problem. Does your company also provide therapy, a full range of services, or how do you structure an intervention in a situation like that?
No, that's a great question. I mean, the first thing we do, and yes, we do offer therapy, and the first thing we do is a transition evaluation assessment with all of our clients. In that evaluation, we try to understand a lot more about the past situations, traumas, experiences that they're going through, and things that they've experienced in their past. We want to because a lot of what's happening in the future is attributed because of something happening in the past. So we dig deeper in that direction, but we also try to figure out how this environment got to the way that it is, and what is it doing, and how is it impacting the individual's life as well as the people in this environment. Because when it comes to hoarding, it's not just the person who's hoarding that's usually impacted, it's all the other people. Like the kids of the hoarders are the ones that get away. Once they finish high school, they go away to college, and they never come back home. And a lot of times, a lot of that is stemmed from their inability to have their girlfriends, their friends, their teammates, their whomever come over to their home because of the shame of it all. So when they get older and they get married and they have kids, these aren't people that are running back home on Thanksgiving dinner to bring their kids, because in a lot of cases they may or may not have disclosed to their significant other the extent or the severity of their mother or father's tendencies.
What I'd like to ask Lucas before you go.
Go ahead, Mert.
Now, you might not want to answer this. Feel free to say next question, but how much does all this cost? Reworking somebody's life like this. What is this? What are we looking at, in terms of how much this costs someone?
Well, for every 1 year that a person neglects their home, it's equivalent to 1 day of service for us to come back and restore order. So just imagine if, for me, for example, I actually, because of my schedule and because of what I do, I actually have a routine service come to my home and help clean up once a week. And but the average household may not be able to do that. So when you think about it, for example, when most of us, like you guys, get up and go to work every day, unless you have a regimen where you come home when you get off work or leaving the gym and get back home, you spend 30 minutes or an hour cleaning your house, what day are you going to do it? And how much time does it do? But in most of our cases with our clients, they're working professionals, or maybe they're dealing with some psychological or some emotional, physical limitations. They may go years without doing anything to their home. Meanwhile, they're still ordering takeout, they're still ordering DoorDash or Uber Eats, they're still going grocery shopping, and they're still accumulating things around the home that they haven't or may not be properly disposing of. So
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It's going to be expensive getting all those rats and roaches and all that stuff. Don't expect this to be, you're not getting any discounts, because like you just said, years and years of not paying attention, or I shouldn't say that because these people have issues. Years and years of this behavior has led to a severe situation, and in order to get yourself out of it, you're going to have to spend some money. All right, you said enough. You don't have to disclose your prices, but I can see through what you're saying, and I respect it, because what you're doing is actually a tremendous service, and I'm pretty sure it takes a lot of time and effort to actually go help these people out. So if you're charging whatever you're charging, I'm pretty sure it's well worth it. So I'm going to leave it at that, because
Bird, I think it's going to vary from case to case. One price is not going to fit all, so it's not fair to sort of put Brandon.
But just imagine
imagine
if you get him to come to your place and do the actual. That's a very valuable thing, because this is the guy. This is the guy you see on A&E. This is the star right here.
This is the man.
Yeah, this is the top guy in the country, probably.
No, we pride ourselves in doing a great job. I mean, it's this kind of work. In essence, what you're doing is you're consolidating 4 or 5 companies. When you deal with hoarding, you have to hire a professional organizer, a cleaner, or junk removal company, moving company in some cases. And we're those 3 or 2 technicians, and our price tiers go from 1 technician all the way to 5 technicians per day. So depending on what you need to get done, things can vary. Now, what I like to explain is that we have a fast track, which is I'm done. I got a notice from the building association that if I don't straighten up my house and get my stuff together, I'm going to get evicted. So these are clients that we qualify the fast track. We go in and the evaluation says, based on the pictures or photos or on-site assessment, 4 or 5 days. Then there's the transition care plans, where these are customers that, they can't get it done in 4 or 5 days. So we may come and do the project 1 day a week, 4 hours a week, 3 times a week or 2 times a week. And that's depending solely on that person's psychological ability to be involved in the process. Because I always tell people, not 1-2 projects are exactly alike, specifically because one project may just be the job itself, and you can just do the packing, sorting, organizing, so forth. But another one is all psychological, and this client may take a 6-hour, 8-hour day, and you may end up being there 3 times that just because of the mental.
So you're saying you can go from as small as straightening up someone's room who's just let it go to straighten up an entire property or whatever. That's what you're saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've had scenarios where I had clients say, give me a quote on being able to get my dad's condo together. He's not going to be involved in the project. And we're like, great. So you look at it and you say, just to do what needs to get done, this is going to be 6 or 7 or 5 or 4 days. In one case, it was a quote of 7 days, and we could have gotten that project done with that client in 7 days. But guess what? The father checked himself out of the hospital and wanted to be involved in the project. That 7-day project turned into 24. That's what the mental illness of hoarding does.
Wow.
Hey, Brandon, we only have like about a minute or so left, unfortunately. What is the most memorable or most difficult hoarding situation you've encountered thus far?
The most difficult hoarding case I've ever had was a couple of hoarding cases. One was with animals, and this was about 325 Rottweilers. The client was a hoarder. Yeah, a hoarder, and she hoarded animals. Anybody that's in this business will tell you any hoarding of animals is the most complicated, most difficult. She was an animal rescuer, and what she did is she was connected with about 14 or 20 towns in her neighboring area. I'm not going to say what state because I don't want people to go doing their homework on it, but she had all of these towns that were, sending animals to her because they were under the impression she was housing and homing these animals, meaning she was getting them adopted, and she was, helping the different counties. And they just kept sending, and eventually her daughter called these different places, said, "Stop sending my mother these animals because she's not housing them. She's not getting them adopted. She's just hoarding these animals, and you guys are responsible for it." And eventually, she got bit by one of these animals, ended up being hospitalized, and they ended up coming in and uncovering this big secret of hoarding of these animals. And unfortunately, in her case, she ended up, getting, indicted over the hoarding, and that was probably the first case.
Because it sounds like animal cruelty to me.
Yeah.
That must have been a terrible situation. But unfortunately, my friend, you've got to come back because we've run out of time. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the program again. Thanks for coming on. If you're looking for more information about Brandon and his company, visit lifecycletransitions.com. Do I have that right, Brandon?
You got it right.
Lifecycletransitions.com. And, of course, we'll have links posted on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Brandon, speak to you soon. Thanks for coming on, my friend. Well, my friends, that concludes show number 71. May I hear an amen? Amen. Special thanks to Mert Nader. Mert Roberts, my co-host. 71 amazing episodes. That's 142 hours of live entertainment. And if you think that's easy, you try it. Alex Garrett, Gabby Pisani, thank you. Love you. Couldn't do without you. Ashley Ferranti, Master Control. You're amazing. Everyone behind the scenes at AM 970, we love you. Before we go, I want to remind you to check out my movies, Help, Make Up, 5,000 Space Aliens, Children of the Pines, and if you're staying listening to us live, next up, Culinary Confidential with my good friend Christina Cates. If you're a foodie, it's a show not to be missed. Starts at 9 p.m. right after us. I love the program. She's amassing followers by the thousands. I want to scratch your eyes out. Join us next week. We'll have more controversial topics, more special guests just for you. Same time, same place. Ciao, ciao.
The preceding program is sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.